What's up, people of the world? Welcome back to it's a new episode, but it's also a rebrand. I usually call this Kevin New Bridge, but I had an epiphany recently, literally a couple days ago. I wanted to change it to a new name. So welcome to a new episode of Kevysie Fate as the new name, and as the for under the new name, I have the first guest on the new name, T.S. Luther, with me today. How you doing, man?
How's it going? My name's TS and I write comics. Thank you so much for having me on, Kevin. I'm so excited, dude.
Man, glad to have you on, man. And oh, I forgot to say my name. I am Kevin Davis, by the way. I am so sorry. I am your host of the new rebranded podcast, Kevysie Fate. T.S. Luther, welcome
That's
on,
me.
brother. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Oh, thank you so much. My name's TS and I write comics, obviously, and I do the dances on the TikTok, but I'm a comic book writer first and foremost. That's my job. That's what I do. And I think some people hear indie comic book writer and they think amateur, but I am a professional. People pay me to do this thing.
Hmm.
So much so that I've now had some success working with publishers, and my new book, The Digger, is available to pre-order in comic book shops right now from Invader Comics and Massive Comics. So if you go into your comic book shop, say you want Digger by T.S. Luther, they'll look it up. It's in the Massive Indie section of the Lunar catalog, and you can pre-order it. We were getting so many pre-orders right now. I got hit up by my publisher. People in Canada are asking for it now, and
Let's
that's so
go.
wild, man. Because like I just recorded a TikTok right before this podcast about rejection. Because I talk about my wins on TikTok a lot, and
Yeah.
social media. Of like, I got this publishing deal. It's okay. You'll get there eventually. Like these artists want to work with me, but I still get a lot of no's and a lot of rejection. And we talked about that before we started recording about podcasts. I've asked so many podcasts to be a part of it, to be able to come on, not just to shill, just to be able to talk. I'm a fan of podcasts. And I get so many no's. I got no's from artists today. Not even like, no, I don't like this pitch. No, I don't want to see a pitch from you. I don't even want to know what you want to write with me. No, thank you. Like, it's a big part of the job, and you have to learn to let it wash over you, or at least not let it bring you down. So when you
Yeah.
invited me on the show, and you're like, hey, I have this new show. I'd love to have you on since my other one's booked. I know you're excited to do stuff. And we are going to talk about mental health. And I was like, dude, I can do that. I got some stuff, man. Because like it's so much part of like having like a public persona and working in comic books is dealing with that rejection. So go and pre-order The Digger, because if you don't, I'm going to cry. That's the message. That's what I do. I cry and I write The Digger for Invader Comics.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah, we talked on my other podcast, Give Us a Network, on a lot. My live stream podcast I do every Friday. And I knew about your book, Digger, and I've seen all your posts there across TikTok and Instagram, and I just friended you on Facebook, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna see them on there too.
Wherever
Uh,
podcasts are sold, man, I got the social media stuff popping off.
oh yeah,
Me
so
and Fish,
oh
always.
yeah, yeah. And I remember, when I first met you on my first podcast, I'm like, I need to talk to this guy one on one. I'm gonna see if he's available and if he wants to come on this podcast.
Thank you so
Because
much,
I will
man.
be back on my live stream, but it's kind of like you said,
You, you're
kind of book
blowing up,
all
man. You
the.
got you got guests for days, and every single time I watch, it's like
Man,
your account is going up. And I think that like there was a little bit of, I thought you were really selling something. The first time I saw you, it was you were talking about how big the show's getting. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. And then, dude, I watch your numbers; they're going up in real time. Like you're
yeah,
everywhere, and it's so cool to see that.
yes.
Not only did you have that confidence, but like you backed it up. And I
Mhm.
watching you grow in just like the little time that I've known you has been so incredible. And just remember me as you blow up. Like give me a shot as you get too big, because it's been so wild to see, man.
Dude, it's been crazy. I legit started my first podcast like in August of this year.
Hmm.
And I made one post on Facebook saying, I'm like, hey, I have an opening for my live stream since I migrated to the Madness Network.
Right.
Would anybody like to come on? You want to promote something or just nerd out and just have fun? My freaking comment session. It's like, you're a great host. I would love to come on your show and talk to you. I'm like, oh, cool. I'll see you my my calendar. And then more people came on my comment session, and I'm like, wow, I was not expecting that to go blow up so fast. One, I'm like, one, and hearing the comments and feedback saying, like, dude, you have a great personality. I would love to talk to you on the show, and I have books to promote if that's okay. I'm just like, yeah, that's about it. I'm like, if you have something to promote, come on, like sign up. I don't get. We can have. I'm like, have fun. We're gonna talk about your whatever you're working on. I don't care if it's a movie, a show, a comic book, a novel, hell, a magazine, a T-shirt. I don't care. If you want to talk about whatever you want to talk about, we're gonna talk about it and have a blast and get your stuff, get people eyes on your stuff. And I hesitated doing my own podcast for a while. I started doing podcasts in 2024, like being a guest, like because I'm like I'm a creator, so I have to get my comfort zone in order to like start to get my brand out there. And when I all 20 every month 2024, I was on a podcast. Like January, February, March, breaking April, May, June. No, wait, May, June. I think it was breaking July. Then August, September. I was like, I was exhausted, but I was having fun.
Right.
And then this year, I was like, I'm like, can I be a host of my own? I was like, could I potentially be a host? I kept asking myself, like, could I potentially be a host of my own? I was like, do I have the personality for it? Do I have a voice for it? I was like, I know my voice is naturally low because I don't talk that much. But then I really fell in love with podcasting as I kept getting on more shows. I'm like, you know what? I want to help people. Let me try this sucker out. And so I started pre-recording Kevysie Network and like to like see if I can get some guests on it. Like just to start, I started with my friends because they got stuff going on, and then I started. I was like, it's actually pretty fun. I mean, it's actually really fun. And then Pops from Magic Network said, "Hey, you want to migrate your podcast to the live stream of network?" I hesitated. I was like, you know what? Fuck it, screw it. Yeah, sure. And then ever since I got into Madness, people have been starting to want to come on my show, and now I have official live stream every Friday at 3 p.m. Central Time, and my calendar has literally has blown up, and it's blown like my full February is booked already, and my March is almost fully booked. Somebody has booked for April. I'm like, God damn, that was quick. It's like I was not expecting that whatsoever, especially as a new kid on the block, as in podcasting and in creating. Um, and I didn't grow up on comics. I told you this on my other show. I mean, I didn't grow up on comics. Like I knew about Marvel, DC, like their TV shows and movies and everything. I was like, I didn't find out about their comics till 2020 when COVID hit. I was like, I'm already a homebody. Like I've been a homebody my entire life. That's who I am. But in 2020, when COVID happened, we really couldn't do nothing for a while anyway. I was like, I didn't want to sit around watching TV all the time. 'Cause I'm like, I'm a grown adult. I need to do something. I need to get my hands into something. And I started reading comics. I read like the digital comics of Marvel and DC. What was it? What was I think it was a Batman comic. Probably I started reading from DC. I don't know which one. I think it was Halloween.
Long
Um,
Halloween.
yeah. Thank you. I'm like you probably know better than me, but yeah, long like Long Halloween, and I read like the Black Panther comics, Thor, Spider-Man. I had to go to my boy Spider-Man. I had to do it. I had to do it. I had to do it, bro. And I was like, and then I started hearing about independent comics. And like on TikTok, I was going to TikTok. A company called Black Sense Entertainment popped up on on my page. And he's a independent comic publisher that produces this series called Black Sands, The Seven Kingdoms. And I was like, I'm like, that's what the fuck is an independent comic? Like, that's more. And then I hear about Boom Studios, Dark Horse, Image, IDW, Top Crow Productions, even Spawn. I didn't freaking know that was a freaking comic series at first. I was like, how the hell did I not know about any of these growing up? Like, what the world? Um, and I was like, I bought physical copies of independent comics. I didn't really care for the Marvel DC physicals. I bought the independent comics. They're on my shelf right now. And even Hellboy, for God's sakes, I didn't freaking know there was a comic. And I was like, I freaking love the movies. I'm getting this freaking book. And then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics. I'm like, what the hell is my favorite movies are? What the hell, dude? What the hell? And I'm like, these. I'm like, these your books first, or what's like? And I just fell in love with comics just like that. I was like, I really am a nerd because I was like, I am really am a nerd because I love movies, I love TV. I'm like, I love entertainment and I love storytelling. And man, and I studied for like a good 2 or 3 years, like how to write a comic. And I've learned it's like you have to write a script like a movie. And I got like advice from like other writers. It's like, yeah, but it's in a different format. You have to write panels and not write straight down the page. You have to write panels and you have to be very detailed, descriptive for your artist to know what's in your head. And I was like, oh shit, okay, do I really want to do this? I was like questioning myself. I was like, at first I wanted to hire a writer to write it for me, but then I was like, I might be a little bit of a control freak because you probably won't be able to understand what I'm thinking in my head or what I want to do. So I kind of like I got like examples from online to see how comic strips are comic scripts are written. I was like, oh, that's what he meant by panels. I was like, interesting. Okay. And so I jot down like storylines I want to do, and I'm a big horror fantasy fan. As you can see, I'm also a Scooby fan, and
Right.
this is my character Arcfire. My friend painted these for me actually, and she was gonna send these for me as a gift for free. I was like, no, I'm gonna pay you. I'm gonna buy them from you because, dude, look at this. This is freaking phenomenal. Like, wow. I like investing to other creatives, so I'm like, I'm not gonna take that from you for free. I'm gonna pay you for those. And so and when I got into writing, everything just changed for me. I'm like, writing has become my therapy, and I have so many stories I want to tell that's inside me that I never knew that was inside me. And so I'm like, and now to my question, as I'm blabbling, what made you get into storytelling? And is Digger like your first book you did, or was like or are there other stories before that was Digger?
So I mean, I've always been a writer ever since I was a young kid. I lied a lot, and I didn't know why.
Mm,
And I had learned it was because real life was boring. Fiction was so much more interesting. And I grew up in the middle of the woods, so I was just bored, and I didn't know what to do with that energy. So I was full of crap. And as you get
mm,
older, you can't be full of crap anymore. Nobody wants to hang out with the kid who's got an uncle who works at Nintendo on the playground, right? So you don't want to be that kid. So I learned to channel it into writing, and I didn't start writing professionally until I was much older, but I knew I always wanted to be some sort of storyteller. I just grew up in a place up north Michigan, basically just the woods. You know, like we had a
mm,
school that was K through 12, so tiny of a community. There weren't people that went after their dreams, let alone wrote as a career. That just
mm,
was not an option. I didn't know anybody who worked in any sort of creative endeavor at all. So I didn't know that I could do that. So I worked all the odd jobs in between, call centers. I was a technical writer for a really long time. I wrote about like the boring stuff about car parts. So when you go to Amazon and you're looking up which kind of brakes that you're going to get for your car, I wrote that stuff. Like
mm.
that's what I did. And when COVID hit, that was when I realized, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. They don't like me. I'm not even that good at it. I definitely don't like them. I don't think I even like cars. I don't I really don't. So like I'd always loved comic books, and I thought I would try it out, and I wrote a script. And for the first time I was really, really scared because the only thing I ever wanted in my life was to have a family. I have a wife and I have kids, and that was my whole thing. Before I met my wife, I played Magic the Gathering on a bedroll. I lived in a van, and that was
Oh
the only thing I
wow,
cared about, man. Like I played Magic the
wow.
Gathering, and I ate chicken wings once a week. That was my whole life. That's all I cared
Not the
about.
chicken
Dude,
wings,
love chicken wings. I ate 50
bro.
chicken wings from
Yes.
Pizza
Oh
Hut.
my
Not even like
God.
top tier chicken wings. It was from Pizza Hut. That was my whole
They,
life.
bro, Pizza Hut bounce good wings though. You can't lie.
Thank you, thank you. I
Like
always say
pizza,
it because like people like get mad at me, but like no, they're the best wings.
dude. No, pizza wings has top tier wings,
Ah,
man. Oh my
so
God,
good, dude.
I love
I,
the freaking
I need
wings.
some in my life right now. Now that we're talking about it, I'm getting
Me
hungry.
too. Now I'm hungry. Jesus.
But like that was my whole thing. And then I met my wife, and I wanted her to have more, so I got the jobs that came to
Mm,
me. We were both college dropouts, so there was only so much that we could do. And then I started having kids, which meant I couldn't just have a crappy college dropout job. I needed to get enough to make sure they had a good life. So they didn't live in a van down by the river like I did, you know?
Right.
So, like, because I was in high school and I was living in a van, like, I don't want that for my kids. So I
Right.
wanted
Yeah.
to do better for them, and that meant getting jobs that paid enough. It didn't matter if I liked them or not.
Right.
So it wasn't about me. But when COVID hit
Mm.
and my kids were getting older and I was starting to get really disenfranchised with my job, and I
Mm.
tried writing a comic book, I was really scared because I finally found something that I wanted for me. I wanted to be a comic book writer. I wanted to do this. It was so much fun. I did a book called Growing Up. It's a small anthology. I think it's still like available on Amazon. Nobody read it. Nobody cared about it. It really didn't matter. But what mattered was that I made something and I made a comic book and it changed everything. So from then I started doing pitches, these pitch packets that you'll see, like if you submit to a larger publisher, they'll ask you for a chunk of a book that's finished. So
Mm.
like 6 or 7 pages with a cover, fully completed, lettered,
Oh Lord,
colored.
not 6 and 7, not 6 or 7. Oh
Nah,
Lord.
six,
Oh,
seven.
oh God.
I got kids, man. That's exactly what they probably could sense that I said it. Uh, but like they ask you for a chunk of a finished book, so I shell
Mm.
out my life savings of having like a career, to make all these pitch packets, and I quit my job, which was the dumbest thing I could have ever done because I get to all these publishers and I start getting some like actual editorial stuff back saying like, wow, this we were not for somebody like that we had never heard of, this is not bad. But that's not the same thing as a yes. In
Yeah,
fact, it
yeah,
is the same
it's
thing as
not.
a no. And
Yeah.
they were not interested. It doesn't matter what the pitch packets were. I had no clout in the industry. They basically said go and publish your own comic book for a while and kind of earn your keep, earn your place. And but I had spent all of my money and I had quit my
Right.
job, and so mistakes were made. So since then, over the years, I've been self-publishing books like Tokyo Fire and Hellion and Bash, and I had started a publishing company with a friend of mine, and that's who publishes Hellion and Bash Tokyo Fire now. It's called Professional Entropy. I've worked with lots of other indie creators like Lucky 33 Comics, Brain Damage Comics, Mr. Fish Comics, who you know, friend of the show.
Heck yeah.
And so I started writing for anybody who would let me, including myself.
Now that I think it's gonna get you to the Kevysie entertainment.
Hey, listen, I got a couple pitches for you, man. Trust me, like it's going. I just started doing the con stuff, and then I had gone back to doing those pitch packets, but now a little bit more careful with my money, a little bit more careful with my collaborators, and focused.
Nice.
And I started pitching them on TikTok just in the meantime while I was waiting for other gigs. And one of the ones that popped off was The Digger, and people were really excited about it, telling me I needed to pitch it somewhere, and I thought that was really cool. Sam Goodlin, my co-creator and artist on the project, he was excited if people wanted to read it, so why not pitch it?
And speaking
And
of the digger, I think I can bring it up right quick.
heck yeah, please
Let me see
do.
if I can.
And so I had pitched it on TikTok, and all of my TikTok followers were saying, "Hey, go pitch it to
There it
Invader
is.
Comics."
There it is.
Heck yeah, Sam Goodlin's art right there,
Yo, look
everybody.
at this cover, guys. The
And
man had the
it's so
eyes of the
good, man.
devil.
And so I had pitched it to Invader Comics, and they said yes right away. It was the first
Oh,
yes, I
nice.
think, other than like working with artists, I had ever received in the comic book industry. And
Really?
yeah,
That's
I mean,
freaking
like it's a slow going. It's kind of how it goes. But when they jumped on it, I was like, oh, we actually have something here. And I've been off to the races ever since. Now I still get tons of no's every single day, like we talked about. But this was my first big break comic. It can be pre-ordered in comic book shops right now. It's gone international. I think you're going to be able to pre-order it in other shops, like elsewhere in other countries soon.
Yeah, because did
Um,
you make a post? Did you say that like the UK or something?
I didn't make any posts, and I don't know what I can say or not say, so I don't want to say
Okay.
anything out of bounds. But I'm
Okay.
trying to get it, and I know there are comic book shops in places like Canada that have been asking for it, and
Okay.
we're sub distributed in the Lunar catalog by Massive Indies.
Nice.
That's the awesome comic book publisher, Massive, that has their own comic book stuff. They have a little indie program inside of the Lunar catalog after Diamond
Mm.
went down, and all these other
Yeah.
distributors didn't want to pick up all the small guys. So like they picked up stuff like Boom and
Mm.
IDW and Image,
Yeah.
but they didn't pick up the tiny publishers like Invader. because they were just a little bit too small for that to make financial sense. But Massive, being an awesome publisher, said, "Well, we have room. We don't need our entire section of the catalog in Lunar, so maybe we could sub-distribute and pick up some of the smaller guys that we like." And that's where my book is at, and where Invader books are at, and we're trying to get it into shops other places right now. So that's my journey in comic books. There's a lot more rejection that I didn't mention. Those were all the wins, I think. But so The Digger is not the first thing that I ever wrote, but it's the first thing that I think a lot of people are going to see me for, which is interesting. It's like when you have like the overnight success stories, which is not where I'm at. But when you see those, people go,
Yeah,
"Oh yeah, the overnight success. It was this thing," and you don't see that they were at it for years beforehand. I've been writing comic
yeah.
books for this is going to be year 5, and The Digger is my first widely distributed book that's in comic book shops that I didn't beg for them to have it there. Like people can go in and pre-order it.
Well, I'm not that far behind you. I'm in my this is my year three.
Heck yeah, dude.
My year four is 2026.
Well, you're already killing it. You're gonna do better than I did. So don't forget me when you're working at Marvel. Let me
It's
write a
fun.
two-page backup, man.
You know, it's funny. I actually have no interest working at Marvel or DC.
No, not even a little bit.
Not really, because I feel like they won't like what I write.
And that's completely fair. And I,
It's
I
like,
talk to a lot of people in the indie space, and that's their thing. They're like, "Oh no, that's not even
uh,
my goal." For me, my only goal is I want to write comic books forever. I want to
yeah,
write everything. I want to be at Marvel. I want to be at DC, Boom, all of those places. But I really just want to keep doing this. And as a father, and who's already made an irresponsible move once before, I don't want to do that again. So working with publishers is a way to create that longevity. It's a way to legitimize your career, and it gets your attention at other publishers. So like if you're published once, you're probably going to get published again. You're more likely to. So you get more gigs, which means more money, which means that I can do this in a financial way that doesn't hurt my family. Because for a long time, I don't know if you've ever seen them. I don't do them as much because I've been a little bit more successful. But there was a time where I'm on TikTok crying because Christmas is going to be smaller because Dad chose to write comic books instead of writing about car parts.
yeah. I haven't seen those. I only just met you a few months ago.
Right, right. And like, don't go back and find them because they're sad. But like, it hurt a little
Yeah,
bit doing that because I made a mistake. And luckily, I've been doing better. I've gotten more gigs. I've been able to find a little bit better of a balance when it comes to how much money I spend on creating comics. But it's a really hard job, and I don't think a lot of people who get into it understand how much it's pay to play. Like
yeah.
you're almost no one's paying you
Especially
to
the
do it.
mentality aspect of getting into this.
Yeah, I mean, like nobody's paying you, whether you're an artist or a writer or anything. Like most people are telling you not to jump in, and
Yeah,
I think you see a lot of those Cinderella stories that happened in the past of comic books, where it's like, oh, I was plucked out of obscurity and now I write Marvel. That just really doesn't happen often. That's usually not
it
how it
does not.
goes.
It
Usually
does
you're
not.
working through the indie space, and I want to work for Marvel and DC partly because I love those toys and I want to play with them, but also because if you get to Marvel or DC, that's longevity. If you get to Marvel or DC, then you can pitch to Boom and Image and keep creating your own creator-owned books, and it just allows you to stay in this space so much longer. But I do understand when I talk to other indie creators like yourself, and you're like, I just want to tell my own stories, and I
Yeah, because
totally get that.
like my goal, like I've heard people say that dream is like work at Marvel, like work at DC. I say my dream is to build my company into a corporation where I can hire other people and actually sh appreciate them and give them the appreciation they deserve. Because I've heard so many stories about how people, and especially artists, have been mistreated and like they barely even get by, even work at these big two companies. And I'm just like, that's not my dream to work at there. I was like, if an opportunity comes up somehow, and if it's something I would be, if it's a character I'm interested in, I would say never because I'm open to anything, but it's just not, that's not my goal. I'm like, or like dream to like want to go there because I don't want to um, what's the word? I don't want to psych myself out or like I'm like trying to like put myself in like a mental state like I want to get here, I want to do all of this so I can get here because that would be that would be exhausting.
Oh, it
Uh,
is. It is very
and
exhausting.
but
I'm very tired.
yeah, yeah. So I'm like, that's not my dream. My dream is to build my publishing business and well, it's not just publishing; it's entertainment business. It's publishing,
Right.
and
It's all of
I
it.
my publishing because I plan to get into animation and even potentially live action someday for my business.
Heck yeah,
And
man.
that's why I love meeting other creators and like learning you guys' passion and just hearing different stories and it really just empowers me to keep going because I'm like because even the big two they were small at some point and look at them now. I'm like, I truly believe, and I'm also showing sneak peeks of your comic, by the way. That's what I'm scrolling through.
You're
I'm not
all
gonna show,
good, good.
I don't want to show too much, but it's just a little sneak peek for you guys to see the Digger. It looks really fantastic. Um, but yeah, when you get into this industry, it's a very strong mental. You have to have a very strong mental hold because it's very draining, and that's why I also created this it's like a safe space because I know we all sometimes need someone to talk to. And I have a background. I actually have a associate's degree in human services. That's also why I make this podcast because I want to build this podcast up for it to be a safe space to people that want to just chat and just get stuff off their chest and just I guess it's kind of like my social work therapy podcast like in a way. Um, so yeah. But yeah. When going back to all the no's and like the rejections, I always say rejection is just a redirection. Don't fall in that bubble like um thinking you're not gonna go anywhere. I'm like the way I see it is like God is protecting you from something that you don't know that's there. That's how I see it. And I was like and also I want to say when I speak about God, I'm not trying to like convert nobody. Because you know how some people like kind of get. I'm like I'm not a religious person because I don't believe God has a religion. But I am a believer. But that's how I see things from a different perspective and everything. And so I would say rejection is not it's not a downfall. It's actually more of a redirection and just a reset, if that makes sense to you. And with all these no's you've gotten, like how did you like mentally, how did that make you feel, and how did you overcome that and keep going on your daily basis, especially how hard is writing a script, how to budget, how to get those publishing, how to print your books. Like, dude, I'm like, how did you get through that, man?
I mean, it. I'm a dad, so the only thing that matters to me, like if I break it down, if you try to like compartmentalize everything, my kids are what matters. Everything else is secondary. So I have a little bit of a line in the sand that you can't hurt me as long as they're okay, because that's really what matters. So everything else is a little bit secondary. So that's my first line of defense against getting broken down from it. The second line is the name of my company. It's called Can't Be Killed Creations, and it's a joke that me and my
Oh,
wife always say. It's an old reference, but I can't be killed. No matter what's gonna happen to me, I'm gonna keep going. I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna lose a lot, and I might get sad about it. I might get discouraged some days. I might want to quit some days, but I won't. I'm never going to give up because I finally found what I wanted. And so, as much as I'm going to get the no's and they hurt, and sometimes it hurts extra because I wanted that thing, whether it's working with a certain collaborator or working with a certain company, I wanted it and it's not going to happen. And sometimes it's not going to happen because they just don't like me. They don't like my skills. I'm not good enough. And all of those things hurt. But the thing is I can change their minds or I can make it to the point where they don't matter as long as I don't give up. Because most people that make it, not just in comic books, but in any artistic medium, but especially comic books, it's a battle of attrition. It's just about outlasting the competition, which I hate saying competition, but the other people that are going to give up. The opportunities that I'm having right now, like Invader Comics is publishing The Digger. They're giving me my big break. I'm in shops. They said no to me before. When I pitched them Tokyo Fire a year prior, they were like, no, thank you. And if I would have given up and said, okay, they never want to work with me again, I wouldn't have this job that I have right now that's opened up so many doors for me.
mhm.
So you can't give up. So as much as it sucks at the time, and it really does when people don't want to work with you, especially ones that you either idolize or appreciate, you're fans of, when you find out that they're not fans of you, that stings. And it hurts, but that's all it can do to you. It cannot take anything away from you, and it does not impede
Exactly,
you in the future. So you can take
exactly.
that hurt and you can use it as fuel and you can prove them wrong. And that's the thing is I would say that I'm a deeply petty person. I know I don't seem like it, and I think that a lot of people like hear that and go, "Well, that's messed up. Like that's not okay." And you shouldn't tie your self worth to other people. But that's my one like toxic trait that I hold on to that really does fuel what I do, because when people don't want to work with me, they don't want what I'm selling, I just log that in my brain and I remember that the next thing I'm going to prove them wrong. I wish I could go full Don Draper and go, well, I don't think about them at all and just forget about them, but I don't. I hold every rejection, I remember it. I remember all the people that don't want to work with me, and I don't hold it against them like I'm mad at them. I just want to show them that they were wrong about me. Maybe at the time they were right, but eventually they were wrong. And it helps me keep going, and it's fueled me to this point where I'm now making it. So those are my two lines in the sand. I can't be killed, and none of this matters because I'm a dad first and a comic creator second. So as long as I hold on to those two grounded things, I can get rejected all day, every day, and I promise you, dude, I do. For every one yes that I have, there's about 1,000 no's, or what's more likely, 1,000 unopened emails because they didn't even care to respond because I don't matter like that. And there's hope and there's optimism, and I hope one day that I matter. But because the industry is so packed full, it's so
Competitive
saturated
and
with
very competitive.
yeah, man, it's filled with
Yeah.
so many cool awesome people already working, and I'm glad that they're working. The likelihood of me getting a job at Marvel, at DC, at Image, at Boom, at Dark Horse, etc. are so slim that why not try? Why not ask these people to work with me? Why not pitch my stuff? Because it's already a no. It's already so unlikely. It's like buying a lottery ticket. You're probably not going to win. So it's not going to hurt anything by trying. And so, like, I don't mind it. And I'm not surprised when I get the no's. It doesn't hurt my feelings as much because it was already going to be a no. I'm right where I left off. If they said no and they don't want it, cool. That's the same as how I woke up this morning with no publishing deal, with no new artist collaboration. You know, like that's the job. That's the gig. And if you can get past those things and power through that and learn how to write, I mean, that's the thing that some people forget. I talk to people with a lot of confidence and no writing skills. But like if you can do those two things and get better at your job and outlast the competition, opportunities open up for you. And that part kind of keeps me going on. Every little win is XP, you know, like you can level up eventually.
Yeah, I actually got my first no from a person that posted on Facebook looking for writers.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I was like, I don't really feel like writing for anybody else, but I am art. I'm like, so you know what? I'm gonna just do it. Just I'm like, networking. Why not? I don't care. And I was interested. I was like, why not? We'll see if you benched it. And so I sent him like the scripts I've written so far, and he told me no because he's looking for like the drama or like comedy type of stuff, and I'm mostly horror and fantasy. So I was like, okay. I'm like, fine. I'm like, and so now I'm challenging myself to like write dramas and comedy, like to get in that area of things
Right.
too.
Right.
And um and I'm actually writing for someone that's a big influencer that I accidentally became friends with. I've been following for a couple of years. I can't fully talk about what I'm writing for her because legally until we actually finish that book. But the story her universe I'm helping create is a superhero universe. And when I tell you this is my first time writing a superhero story, I struggled because, like I said, I'm mostly fantasy and horror. But she's been trying to get into the comic world since like 2018, and the people she was with they kept like it's been too long for her. It's been so long, and she's like she met me. We started the ball rolling quickly. I got the issue one script done for her. She loved it. She added her part to it. Because she added her part to it to write because we write it together. So I write the basis and she finishes it because I'm also showing her how to write comic strips too. I like because she bounces between she's a realtor, she's a musician, she's an author, she's other things I probably don't even know about because she. And the funny thing is, I follow her story since TikTok, and I met her on Instagram by accident, and because one day I just shared her post, I tagged her, direct. I'm like, I didn't really expect her to see me tag her anyway. So I was like, it was no big deal. And then I got like a Instagram notification saying this person liked your message. I'm like, my message? I didn't send no message. Who the hell did I send a message to? And I was like, oh shit, I tagged her in my story. And when I do my comics, I base characters off people who inspire me. So I create characters based on people I like inspire and I care about. And so I was like, you know what? Let me reach out and see. I'm like, I sent her a message saying, hey, I am a comic creator and I mean, I write stories and base characters off people that inspire me. With your permission, would you allow me to create a character in my universe based off you? I didn't think she would respond. I didn't think she would get it. A couple hours later, she responds back to me. And she said, hey, do you write your comics or do you illustrate it? I said, I'm the writer. I have artists that do it for me. Next thing I know, like an hour or so later, she sent me a voice message. I was like, holy shit. Now I'm upgraded to voice already. Okay. And she explains to me how she wanted to get in the comic world for years, and she wants to create her universe. And she told me to shoot me her number. I mean, she heard my number, and I was like, huh? And I did. She texted me, and we became friends just like that. And ever since dude, this has been like the best collaboration I've had. Especially as my first time writing for somebody else. She is one of the greatest people I've ever met. I was like, she's one of those type of people that she has an aura that you cannot have a bad day around her. Like she can just walk in and you just instantly feel that aura and just start smiling for no freaking reason. And I'm like, I legit, when I had a first phone call with her, I was like, you know what? I cannot have a bad day around you for some odd reason. And it's like you have that aura that you can just sprite up a room without even have to say anything. You just walk in. And she says she gets that a lot. I was like, yeah, I feel that. And I'm editing the next issue script for her comic series, for her comic universe, and it's been such a blast, and I can't wait to bring her story out when she says so, when she's pleased with it, and when she's pleased with the art and everything, man. And I never thought I would ever write for anybody else, but then this happened. I was like, okay, I might be open to it, especially if I have a collaboration that's smooth, that's collaborative, and that we both just have fun working together, and not having an ego. Because that's the one thing she also she also told me she doesn't like working with people that have egos. I was like, me too, because I have no ego. And I'm a chill, I'm a chill guy. I was like, I just like having peace with everything, man. And I was like, life is already hectic, and I do not want to work with people that make things more hectic. I'm like that because I've dealt with mental health my entire life. I can't speak English. Jesus, my entire life. I dealt with anxiety, depression. Um, so I didn't say it's on other show, but I dealt with suicide thoughts.
Sorry, man.
Um, so it's gonna get a little bit deep now since this is a mental health podcast. There have been times I wanted to end it all because I was like I felt like that was no purpose for me here, especially growing up in a house where I was like the only male. I mean, my whole presence was I was filled with I was around women all my life. I didn't have like no present male there to tell me or to show me how a man is supposed to be. Because my father left, and my biological father left and cheated on my mom and started this other family that Jesus Christ, it put a toll on me and my sister, especially me. And I blame my mother for everything, thinking that it was her fault. And mother made a comment saying that she didn't want to have a son. I took that the wrong way. And a couple years later, as I got older, I held on to that for a long time, and it was like she didn't want to freaking have me, so why the fuck am I here anyway? And I almost went to jail in middle school for stabbing a kid in his hand for talking about my mother. I hanged around the wrong kids. I was smoking. I was doing stupid shit I wasn't supposed to be doing because I was trying to fit in. thinking I'm supposed to be around this crowd and yada yada yada. Because I'm like, I don't know who the fuck I am, so I'm just gonna do stupid shit. That's literally how I was a nonchalant kid, dude, like for real. And I was in like in school suspension. I was supposed to be in like in school suspension for like 3 days, but the vice principal at the time said this kid is a good kid. I'm only gonna have him there for one day. We're just gonna switch his classrooms so he won't have to deal with the other kids that bothered me. And man, I stole money from my family. I stole checks from my family. Just tried to impress some girl I didn't even freaking know in middle school. Like that's the downhill I was going. But it's like by the grace of God, God stopped me in my tracks. And the police officer, he was about to take me to jail to teach me a lesson. And my mother wanted me to go to jail to teach me a lesson. But the guy was like, I'm tired of seeing people like us in jail and acting up like this. So he gave me a warning, and he said he's gonna watch me every single day until he knows I'm good and not in that mindset anymore. And he did. And then came graduation in the middle school. The cop saw me in my full-fledged suit. He said, "All right, young man, what he say? You cleaned up. You cleaned up for you." I'm like, "Yes, sir. I'm not going to go down that path because my cousins they've been in and out of jail, and I was like, I don't want to be that type of man. Like I do not want to be that type of man." And my mother wasn't raising me that way, and then my mother actually had a deep conversation with me, explaining what she meant by she didn't want to have a son. What she meant was she didn't want to have a son with the man she was with. And she said she was terrified of raising a boy by herself because she knew she was gonna have to. That broke the fuck out of me, bro. When I tell you, I lost trust in my family for a good year and a half, maybe 2 years. I don't know. It just felt like it was that long, and I kept apologizing, and they was like, "It's okay. You're not that man anymore, or you're not that boy anymore because I was a kid, but you're not that person anymore." And so, and my mother had me grab a journal and write my thoughts out. And she said, get that crap out of your heart and get that crap out of your mind. And just write everything on this paper so it won't be lingering on you for your whole life. You need to, because she's like, I'm not raising a bastard son. And I'm not raising an aggressive man that's going to be beating a woman or beating anybody when he grows up. And I was like, okay. And then because I was punching the wall. That's what I was punching the wall because I had a lot of anger issues. And in high school, I started going to therapy. I actually had an in-school therapist or social worker. She was called social worker. That I'm still in contact till this day. I'm still in contact with her till this day, dude. After all these years, I'm still in contact with her, and she follows and sees what I'm doing now. And man, and getting to comics and like has really gotten me to the point where I'm in such a better place because I can actually tell stories um from my heart. And the reason I gravitated towards horror and fantasy mostly is because I like the darkness. It just felt easier. I gravitated towards it because I wanted to be in the dark. I wanted to be in the dark. I didn't want to be seen, if that makes sense to you. And and that actually produced my first comic, Arcfire. My first comic, Arcfire. This character, Theo Arcfire, is actually based on me. Because he's on a journey of self-discovery as he has cosmic powers that he doesn't know how to control, and he has no memory of who he is. So he's on this intense journey trying to figure out how did he get here, why is he here, what is this power that's when him, how is he so powerful, like what is this gift, and he's meeting like other characters in the story to figure out how they connected to him, why he has to help them, um and that's literally how I am because I'm like I didn't know who the hell I was growing up for a long time, and but I know in my heart I want to help other people, and that's why I started getting to podcasting because I want to help people get their stuff out there as well as I'm getting my stuff out there, and I told you about my magazine on the other show, but I don't think I showed you. But this is actually issue one of my first magazine I made.
Awesome.
It's a lifestyle culture horror magazine where it's, as you can see, it has interviews of different creators, so you can check out sneak peeks of upcoming comics from my company and me. Uh, that's issue one, and this is issue two of the magazine. So in my magazine, I have articles of mental health, where I share like poetry of mental health poems that I write. Like I have a poem called Kevysie, of my story of how I dealt, how me as Kev, obviously, dealing with anxiety. And my friend Dennis Knight, he writes articles for my magazine for business, where he gives advice on the comic book industry and what the ins and outs, what's the do's and don'ts, and also how he was doing articles for not safe for work articles to talk about because people like that stuff too. So I was like, and he says he's writing he wrote those articles. That's going to be in an upcoming issue. I don't know what number yet because I have so much stuff I'm putting into the magazines. Um, and then I try to balance it with comic strips, with sneak peeks of upcoming comics, and even comics that won't be or that won't be individual comics, just as comics for the magazine itself. So I'm getting that into the magazine too. That's like short stories. That's not going to be printed themselves, like by themselves. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's why I got into doing all of this because I have a story to tell, and writing is my therapy. That's literally my slogan is writing is my therapy. And if you're and I would do advise if people are going through tough stuff, just write it in a journal. Just tell your story your way. And if you want to get into comics or writing a novel, tell your story your way and don't think about what other people might say about your story because at the end of the day, it's your story. Um, and like, because I've seen like a lot of people say that something is trash or these other horrible comments, and I'm pretty sure you've seen that a lot more than I have because you've been doing this. Like when you see comments like that, how does that affect your mental and somebody if somebody say this is like trash and like how do you deal with that? I mean, because for me personally, I just ignore it because I'm like that's not constructive feedback. I'm just going to ignore your freaking comment, so I don't give a fuck how you feel. So but thank you for but thank you for giving my comment a try though. So but it's not it's not a constructive feedback. If it's trash for you, then okay. I don't care. I still got paid, so But yeah, how did you do with that with your mental when you see comments like that? Even not even just your work, but you see like comments like trash on other people's stuff. How do you feel about that?
So my first rule when I switched over, because I used to be a comic book critic, I used to do reviews
Mhm,
and stuff.
mhm,
When I switched over to wanting to do it myself, and even before then, I kind of stopped critiquing things in that light. I didn't want to talk about the things I didn't enjoy. I wanted to talk about the things that I did enjoy. So whenever I would see somebody approaching it from that angle, I did, bristle a little bit, like just spreading more hate, like, oh, hey, this is trash. We are artists, we are creating things. That's a valid opinion. Art is subjective,
mhm,
and everything that somebody hates, somebody else loves, and both are
mhm,
valid. And I think some people like really have a hard time with that because you want to go to these gatekeepers, and you either want to agree with them, you want to like be able to commiserate about the things that you don't like, or you want to be able to hate on it together, and you really want to be able to go, that's the definitive decision. This is the objective review. This is an 8 out of 10. We all agree that's correct. And that's not how
mhm,
it works. Art is subjective because we all have different wants and needs from it. So you need to take that with a grain of salt. When you see somebody else talking trash about a thing that you like, that's not indicative of you, and that's not even fully indicative of that product. That is just their opinion on it. That's why reviews are just as valid across the board. So I approach it from that angle where it doesn't hurt me as much. Now, as the creator, I try to take all criticism, whether it's simple as this sucks or I love it, no notes, this is perfect, and I try to take it all with a grain of salt. There's something to be learned from everyone's opinion. So if I see somebody who I wrote this book for, I want them to like it because I wrote it for that demographic, for that type of reader, and they don't enjoy it, I try to figure out why. Even if it's as simple as this is trash, I hate it. Okay, what can
Yeah.
we take from that? Is there something that I can grow from?
Mhm.
Because I try to take all of the notes. I don't mind when somebody hates it because it's not just for them, it's for lots of people. And at least in my opinion, from what I've seen, people enjoy my stuff to a level that I'm okay with some people not liking it because many more people do enjoy it. So it doesn't
Right.
hurt as much. But I try to learn from any sort of criticism, whether it's good or bad.
Mhm.
So that's how I take it. I take it as a grain of salt. Everything is subjective when it comes to art. And when they do hate it, maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's something I can learn from it. And I try to grow because everything's XP, right? If I want to get to that
Mhm.
level up, you got to take the good with the bad. I put out a video talking about that today, where like we talk about the criticism of it. My wife is my biggest fan, and she reads so many comic books, and she loves my writing. She's the first person who reads all of it, and it would be really easy for me to ignore any and all criticism because the hot lady who loves me likes the book, and that's really what matters at the end of the day, right? Especially
Heck
when it
yeah.
comes to my relationship. But if I want to improve as a writer, if I want to garner a larger audience, if I want to get it in front of more people, I need to listen to the people who don't love it and figure out why. Is there something I can take from their, I hate is such a strong word, but from their dislike? Is there something that I can learn from it and maybe improve upon? Because not all criticism is bad. And
Oh,
even
sure.
the hateful stuff, maybe there's some nugget of truth in there if they're not just spewing hate, if they're actually talking about the things they don't like in it. So I try
Yeah.
to look at it all. And, at the end of the day, I'm a writer. I enjoy a little bit of attention. So if people are talking about it, it's kind of a win.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I am too. Cause I'm like, it's the fact you're talking about it that's giving more publicity. So thank you
Right.
for that. I'm not trying to have like an ego when I say I'm getting paid anyway. I'm like, I don't care if you say it's trash, but I'm just saying like if you just simply say it's trash, like not explaining what you mean, I'm just going to ignore you because you're not giving me precise, precise constructive criticism. That's what I'm looking for. I was like, if you say it's trash, at least tell me why you it's trash for you and why did you didn't like a certain part or like. But if you just simply say comment trash, it's like ignore. I'm going to read the other comments that actually give me a more actual feedback. And because I actually had somebody I was on a podcast, Vigilante Vibes. I actually had her review my one of my comics, and of course I was nervous as hell because it's somebody's reviewing my work. But when and she posted it on her media platform, and she gave me an 8 out of 10, which I was like, whoa, what the world? And reading her feedback, how she said that she felt the emotion of each character, and not just in the writing but also in the art. I'm just like, holy smokes, I'm doing something right then. And so I was like, wow. Even my first comic, Art Fire, I have so many good feedback. I was not expecting, especially as a first kid, as a fresh kid on the block with this first comic. I was like, I heard people give like a 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10. Or I was like, I don't even know if I had a 7, but I've always heard 8s or 9s. I'm just like, I was not freaking expecting that. I was like, yo, what the world? I'm like, okay, I think I might be, I think I might have something here. I might continue doing this thing since people are actually interested and invested. And it's like, and Arcfire is a science fiction thriller action series, but it will have horror elements as the story goes on. So as I write the series, I'm planning to be more grounded. So I will add that horror element. And the horror element actually starts at issue 2 that's out now on my website, kevysie.com. And and people that see my website, they say, "Is all these stories connected?" Because they see the horror and like my skin shifter, the Hallow thing, the art, all these. I'm like, yeah, they are connected. But the thing is, you don't have to read either. You don't have to read one book to understand the other because they're even though they're connected in the same universe, they're each standalone. So when you actually read each story, you're gonna wonder like, how are these connected? I was like, you have to make you if you like you have to pay attention. If you read each book, pay attention. You'll see how they're connected. Because I started doing this because I got inspired by Stephen King, with this microverse, especially with Pennywise and how he's connected to the Dark Tower villain, that guy, I forgot his name. And then how
The Man in Black.
yeah, that guy. And how they're siblings and this giant turtle maturing and everything. I was like, so I kind of got inspired at how Stephen King connected his universe like that, and how The Shining, how some people have like the Shining power, and I was like, dude, that's actually really freaking creative. So that's kind of how like I'm kind of like connecting my stories because there are like certain individuals that have a certain power for something, that you have to pay attention to in each story, and why that person is keep getting attracted from these villains. And also got inspired by Sandman. I forgot that dude's name.
Neil
The
Gaiman.
guy. Yeah, thank you, Jesus Christ. I suck at names. I really do suck at names. But I also got inspired by Sandman and like the like um Destiny, Time, his other siblings. And I was like, it was funny how his dad was his dad Time? Sandman's dad is Time, and I forgot who the mother was. I was like, in that just how do you create your own mythology? I was like, I really grasped towards that, and so that's how my universe is literally created. It's like I'm creating my own mythology. It's like this is my Kevysie universe, and you go to and at some point, and I plan to do like a crossover event, book graphic novel someday. Once I get these stories built out and like really start growing a bit more with each story. As for this first arc for Arcfire, I think I'm thinking about 15 issues maybe, and then probably stopping it for a while and probably have Arcfire appear in other comics. Um, so yeah, I'm having so much fun. Like, um, I guess you could. I'm like, I made this joke. Like, my name might be Kevin, but I'm not Kevin Feige. I'm actually quality over quantity. So people are like, oh, shots fired. I was like, I'm just telling how it is. Like my sister can tell you, like I'm very unapologetic. I just tell you how it is. I was like, if it hurts your feelings, that's your problem. I'm just telling you how it is. And also back to Digger right quick. Can you tell me what's happening in this scene right here that I paused on?
Sure. So this is the opening spread right after the cold open with the digger. We have a woman walking through a market in Veracruz, Mexico in 1930s. And we're just kind of showing it's a double page spread with the map in the background, kind of inspired from those Indiana Jones travel sequences. So in every issue
Yes.
there's a map sequence to kind of show where the characters are at now. And she's walking through the market, and then as you go to the next page, there's a small boy, maybe related to the character on the front of the book, and he's telling her that she looks beautiful. And when she pulls away, she realizes that the little boy who was flattering her has stolen her necklace.
Oh God, every time, never fails. Every single. I don't want to show too much of the book, but you say we can get this at where again?
You can pre-order at any local comic book shop in the U.S. right now, but we're working on
Yeah,
getting it elsewhere. But anywhere in the
nice.
U.S., you go into your local comic book shop, you can pre-order The Digger. It is available under the Massive Indie section in the Looter catalog.
Wait, I'm gonna show
Written
one
by
more
me,
page.
drawn by Sam Goodlin. If they need additional details, but yeah, that's where it is.
I'm gonna show one more page because this is freaking fire. Like, wow,
Yeah, and
dude.
it's available for pre-order until December 1st, at least for the
This,
issue one. And then after that, we'll be soliciting issue 2, 3, and 4.
ooh.
So
So is issue two like the art is already done? Like the book is completely finished?
yeah, yeah,
Nice.
we're about to turn
Wait,
in
wait.
issue
I
3,
forgot you
and
sent me issue two.
I did.
I completely forgot you did send
Yeah,
me that
issue
one.
2 is finished. Issue 3 is about
Oh,
done, and issue 4 will be underway and will be done before the holidays. So
oh, nice. That'll be a great Christmas gift then. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, every time I get pages back from any artist I work with is like Christmas. I love getting art back from Sam. That's, I mean, that's half the addiction of doing comic books as a
oh
writer.
yes,
You know,
yes.
getting the
Oh
art
my
back
God,
in is
yes.
so
Oh yeah,
incredible.
man, heck yes, it is. And what made you actually call this the Digger? Like, I'm really curious.
Well, I mean, so I don't know if you've heard the story. It's a little bit apocryphal at this point, but just from the indie scene. But I had pitched Sam Goodlin. I really wanted to work with him, and I'd asked him if he had read some of my stuff. He had. He'd come across me, and I was like, "Hey, I would love to pitch you stories." I sent him like 12, and he said no to all of them. They stink. And I kind of thought, okay, if we're not going to work together, I'm so sorry I wasted your time. And he said, no, pitch me something else. And I remembered Robert Kirkman's advice, which was stop pitching your story, ask the artist what they want to work on, and pitch that. And I did, and
Interesting. Okay.
oh, great advice. You should listen to it if you're an aspiring writer out there. Go listen to Kirkman. He's obviously successful. So
Right, right.
I
Okay.
asked Sam. I was like, "Hey, what do you want to draw? What would you like to see out of these pitches?" And he said something pulpy, something with adventure, something in Mesoamerica. And I said, "Bet I definitely have something for that." That was a lie. I didn't. But I went home and I wrote 3 new pitches, and one of those was just one sentence: "What if Indiana Jones hunted short round?" And that's
Interesting.
and
Interesting.
so and he loved it. Came back with this scary Indiana Jones concept, and that's where
Uh-huh.
the Digger came from. Was okay. So if you take away the awesome Harrison Ford of it all, who's the bad guy? Well, people stealing stuff from indigenous people and putting it in white museums. It's an easy in for a white dude to tell the story. Is well, we're the bad guy. And I it was important to me to be able to have an in like that because I don't want to be telling someone's story that I shouldn't be telling. So the name came from, well, what does he do? He digs.
Mm.
Like that's the one thing that they can talk about with all these scary treasure hunters. He's the guy who digs. He's the American in the hat, and so we kind of wanted him to be this almost legendary, almost mythical bad guy. You know?
Mm. And you actually you sent me this trailer. I want to play it right quick.
Sure, go ahead.
It was pretty funny. It's wait, hold on. You, the audio. My bad. It's all right. We've got to put the audio on. My bad. Let's try this again.
What if Indiana
Yep.
Jones hunted short round? My name's CS and I write comics like The Digger, a 4-issue cat and mouse thriller co-created by myself and the artist Sam Goodlin and published by Invader Comics. The Digger pits a young guide against a dangerous treasure hunter in 1930s Mexico, putting a dark twist on the phrase, it belongs in the museum. But listen, we need your help getting it into more shops, so drop by your local comic book shop today and tell them that you want the book that asks the question,
And then it repeats, and that's the TikTok boomerang of it all.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Man, dude, the art is freaking phenomenal. Like,
Yeah, thank you.
wow.
Yeah, that's all Sam Goodlin, the co-creator. Like I said, like he might draw everything, but he
Uh,
also is a co-creator of it. He comes up with just as many ideas. I just happen to write the words. Sam's an amazing storyteller, and
like
his
he
art
does
is
every like
phenomenal.
pencil, ink,
Yep,
lettering, and
pencil ink.
color.
Yep, he does
Oh,
the whole shebang. And
nice.
the lettering was meant to be placeholder. Well, I originally had pitched it to him, and I have a couple of letterers that I work with on all my books, and
Okay.
he came back with this placeholder lettering, but with the SFX built in of people yelling, all of that stuff, and it looked
Mm,
so good that I was like, we should just keep this. This is perfect. You actually are a very talented letterer, and we go to turn in the final issue
mm.
1 to Invader, and Sam emails me. He goes, "So where did we land on the letterer? Like, who were you gonna hire?" And I was like, nobody, man. You did it. You nailed it. I'm just going to give you a bigger piece of the pie. Like, whatever the cut would have been for the letter, you did it. It looks amazing. And so, like, he does basically everything else. I just happen to write the silly words and what happens on each page. Like, he does so much. But yeah, Sam Goodlin's art is crazy. If you like Adam's Family, that old comic strip
Yes.
style, or
Oh
Gendy
yeah.
Tartakovsky, like, there's a bunch of inspirations in his work. But
Dude, I am big Adams fan. I'm
yeah,
Adams Family fan. Oh my God,
you
yes.
you
Oh
can
my
definitely
Lord.
see that in there. Or like, I forget
I
the
can't.
name of the
Yeah.
artist who does the
Yeah.
gorillas art.
Uh,
Yeah, you can see a lot of that influence in there.
man. I could. I mean, that was actually my next question. Was this inspired by like Adams Family kind of
Oh, for sure.
feel to it? Because it does give off that vibe, and I really freaking love it. And wow. How did you and Sam meet? Like, have y'all already been friends for a while before you started working together?
Well, so I mean, part of the gig as a comic book writer is looking into new collaborators, like always hunting that
Sure.
down. So I'm always looking for new artists to work with, and so that means I read a lot of comic books from other countries. I read a lot of Portuguese comics, a lot of Spanish speaking comics, and also European scene. So Sam was really big in the Russian and Eastern European scene of indie
Ooh.
comic books. So I had seen some of his comic books in there, and he had a couple that had popped up in Spain. Dead Metal and Sacrificio were two. Please go and check them out. They're not in English, so you got to do some translation work, but it's worth it because his art is so incredible and some really good storytellers that he's worked with. And so like I liked his work. I had hunted him down on Behance is the name of the website. It's similar to DeviantArt and ArtStation, which
Yep.
is
I know
usually
you're talking about. Yep.
where I look for
Yep.
people. And I just reached out and I was like, hey, I like your work. Do you want to work together on something? And he had read some of my stuff. I don't know if he had read it before I had pitched him, but he liked what he read after I pitched him at least. And, the rest was the story I told you before.
And I know like a bit of your backstory. Like you used to edit like stories, right? Too. Like when you were like an editor. I think you mentioned on my other show. Were
I,
you like
I
an editor?
edited some stuff for Fish. I had found him on TikTok as I was doing Tokyo Fire over at Zoop. And I had reached out to him like, "Hey, what can I do for you? Like, I'd love to write stories for you." And he was looking for an editor that could do a little bit more because he had a few other editors, but they were working on other projects. And Fish turns out pages very, very quickly. So I started editing
Yes, he
some
does.
stuff for him
Jesus.
freelance, and I had pitched him a story for one of his anthologies, Fish Tales, and he liked the
Yeah,
story.
first
It
off,
tied into
love
one of his other universes. He liked the story enough to he asked me to write something else, and I became an editor for his series Alice Lost in Wonderland that he was launching.
great book,
And
by the way.
yeah, I love that
Great
book,
book.
and I loved it so much that I had pitched him a story as the editor, kind of like story editing on top of just editing the individual issue for the arc. And he said, "Why don't you just write it?" And so I started as an editor for him, and now I write the main series, Alice Lost in Wonderland.
Dude, that's freaking fantastic. Oh my God. Fish is a legend.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know
he's the
how I'm like
best.
I don't know how he pops out stuff that freaking fast. Like this
I mean,
he's
he's
like
been
what
doing it
he's
for
almost
30
to
years.
200
That's the
books now.
secret.
But he
Oh yeah,
almost to 200 books now, and I already have stuff I want to work with him on someday. He's one of my dream collaborations as well. I would love to work with you someday too when you
for
have the
sure, man.
time. I'm like, I know you do articles too, so I got magazine articles open. You can send me so whatever you want to pitch for my potential
Yeah.
magazine.
I would
I
love
don't
to.
care
I
if you
just
want to do
sold a
like
couple of magazine articles. It was really
uh,
fun. I hadn't wrote like that in a long time. It was fun to kind of flex that muscle.
yeah. So I'm like, what I'm looking for like magazine, you can article about whatever you want to like. If you want to talk about the comic book industry, entertainment industry, you want to write a review of something, um, or if you want to write like a novel form, short form story. Or if you want to write a short story script, and if I like it, I'll have my artist make the script for draw the script that you write, and you'll get full credit, everything, and you'll probably also might end up on illustrated on the cover too. That's how Dennis Knight got on here. So fair warning that you might get illustrated on a cover of the magazine too. That's also my other way to showcase other people that's working with me, and her right there. This is actually the artist that actually drew this. Yeah, that's my artist. That's my main artist. My partner in crime right there. She's freaking amazing.
What's her name?
She she goes by Toby Queen's art.
Okay,
Toby Queen Arts, but her name is Daya. She's based in Florida, I believe.
cool.
She man, when I tell you, she's a beast. When she's not having like life going on, dude. We was on a call one day working on a project. So there's like two logos and a page, and a comic page.
Mhm.
And we were just talking and talking. And an hour later, she was doing all three right there. I'm just like, girl, what the fuck? Like, what the hell? Like, wow. And she's like, let me cook, let me cook. I was like, go ahead. Go freaking go ahead. Like, wow. And she's actually my that got me into comics because she's my very first artist. We met a couple years ago in a film studio Discord I was working with when I did a voice acting gig for them. And one day she posted her art. I so happened to go on Discord that day, and she posted her art in one of the art sessions of the Discord. And I saw it. I was like, whoa. I was like, let me reach out to this person. I don't know if you at some I don't know if she was a woman or a guy because I'm like, it was behind Discord. And so I met her and I was like, well, first, what's your actual name? So I stopped calling you by your Discord name. And she told me, and have a casual conversation, get to know her, and then I popped the up like, do you by chance create comics? Like, do you draw comics? And she said, yes, I do. I was like, really? And so I sent her some characters like to test out and see what she sees in her mind as the character I want to bring to life. She brings like the next day. I was like, you want to create comics together? And from that day forward, we got delayed a few times because life happened and she had like a lot of situations going on, and I did too. So we kind of phased out for a little bit from working together, and but then 2024 came. We connected back, and she's working on my very first graphic novel, Skin Shifter, and she sent me some of the pages already. I'm just like, oh yes, oh, wait, we're back. So that graphic novel I plan to have out next Halloween, so October 2026, coming soon. I'm excited to bring that out, and I'm actually getting my very first variant cover, Jesus Christ, from Todd Rayner. At first, I didn't really care for variant covers, but I've seen like a lot of people do like variant covers at times. So I'm like, let me test this out. And so Todd Rayner is working on a variant cover, and he seen me like the sketch of it. I'm just like, that's like how it was. When he sent me, I'm like, what the crap? Like I'm like, I love this dude. Like, this is freaking amazing. And I have so many other stories down the pipeline. My next comic I'm releasing around February 13th. It's called Halloween. It's a clown story. So if you're afraid of clowns, I'm not sorry. Um, and this is actually Halloween right here, right here.
Okay.
So you guys, and I should show you a sneak peek of it right here. So this is Halloween coming February 13th to Kickstarter. And shout out to my artist who does Halloween, Leonardo Francino. Francino. He's based in Argentina, I believe. Um, so yeah, it's been one heck of a journey in this industry, and like we both said, you have to have a strong mentality. You have to have the tenacity and the determination if you want to storytell or like get into anything basically.
Right.
Like I said, it's very oversaturated. I was like, my best advice to anybody that wants to get into this industry: one, study, study, study how to budget, study how to write. Like you said, learn how to write, and make sure you actually want to do this, because if you do this, there's no turning back. Because when you start building, there's no turning back. You have to keep going, and also don't be afraid to take risks, because I believe risks actually, taking risks will actually lead up to your bigger reward down the pipeline, because you never know what could happen. Yes, you get a lot of no's, but a lot of no's will eventually turn into yeses. You just have to keep building your brand and just keep going and never give up. Like my favorite wrestler, John Cena, never give up. And so before we hop off, it's the season of Thanksgiving. So I got inspired to do this by a podcaster, Chris something. I keep forgetting to do his name. I suck at names. I'm sorry, but he does this thing where he asks the guest, name what's the three things you're mostly grateful for, off the top of your head. Like, so I want to ask you, what's the three things you are very grateful for?
My family, comic books, and my family again. Because listen, like They're amazing. They're everything that I need, but also they're my support system. So they get 2 spots because I couldn't do this
There you
without
go.
them. I wouldn't want to do this without them. Without them, I'd be living in a van playing Magic the Gathering because that's what I cared about. So that's everything. And then the other part is comics. I love this industry. If I never break into the mainstream, that's okay because I get to read all these comics. And I was a comic book fan long before I was ever a comic book creator, and I will continue to be whether or not I get to continue making comic books because like I have a stack sitting right here of indie comics of new friends that I made at Motor City Comic Con. I got a bigger stack over here of just stuff that I'm reading from my shop. You
Invincible. Love
do you
that
mention
stuff.
Hellboy? I finally this was a big thing for this year. I got the monster-sized Hellboy,
Dude, I
and
want one.
dude, it's so good. I mean, I love all these stories anyways, but being
Oh,
able to read it all, I will tell you though, really hard to read on the toilet. Like, just very, very difficult to read. Like, trying to lug this in there quickly and then sit down. Like, you're trying to like angle it. It's a tough thing.
oh
But
my
yeah.
God.
So my family twice in comic books. Always so grateful, and I'm also a bonus one. I'm thankful very much for you having me on the podcast, dude. Let's do it again soon. I gotta
Thank
run. I
you.
gotta be on another show, and I gotta go get some food. But I appreciate you so much, man. I'll make sure I know it's Riverside. I won't log off before it uploads. I know the rules. I've done this now on so many other shows where they're like, "Hey, don't leave." I'm like, I know not to log off. I promise.
Yeah, I gotta get some food too, because I'm,
Oh yeah. One more thing. Please go and pre-order the Digger from
yes.
Invader Comics at your local shop. I'm contractually obligated to mention it on every single show and at most graces. So like, please go and pre-order the Digger at your local comic book shop from Invader Comics. It's in the massive indie section of the Lunar catalog. Oh yeah, it's What If Indiana Jones Hunted Short Round.
There we go. And for me, I am grateful one for family as well. Because dude, without my family, I honestly would be here. I wouldn't be here right now because they've been supporting me since I even started my entrepreneurship. Look, I've been an entrepreneur for about 7 years now. Yeah, 7 years now, and it's been one heck of a journey. Setbacks, but I keep going. That's life. That's how entrepreneurship goes. Two, storytelling, comics, uh, and three, I'm just thankful to be alive. And the world is crazy right now, but I am very thankful to be alive and just breathing. And I am grateful for you for coming on the show, that you had the time to come on. And like you said, go pre-order The Digger at your local comic shop. Let's get this book out there. Let's get it out into the global world. Let's beat the mainstream because independence is the new Hollywood, and I wholeheartedly believe that. And this has been the reboot of my podcast, which is now called Kevysie Fate. And I am your host, Kevin Davis, and this is T.S. Luther. We are both comic creators, and you can find both of us where? Where could we find you, T.S. Luther?
I have my website, can'tbekilledcreations.com. It's got all my stuff up there, and I'm at TS Luther everywhere else across social media. So if you want to see me do the TikTok dances, you can do that. You can find all of the various publishers I work with at my website, can'tbekilledcreations.com. And if you're feeling especially froggy, you can email me, comics at can'tbekilledcreations.com.
And you can find me at, well, one of my Instagrams is Kevysie Fate. My main Instagram is I am Kevin Davis Official, and my business tags are in the bio of I am Kevin Davis Official Instagram. Hey, Facebook, I am Kevin Davis CEO. TikTok, Kevysie Studios, and my website at kevysie.com. And this has been a new episode of Kevysie Fate, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Stay weird, everybody.